Alright everyone, I'm going to be putting these two wars together, war number 2 and war number 3. I don't have many fights these upcoming wars, but luckily we end up winning both of these, mostly because with our BG2, we've been doing rather well when it comes to executing the plan being sent by obviously our officers as well as our planner, so shout out to them. Now, with this Mantis here, she doesn't have any shrugging abilities, she just reduces the debuff ability accuracy, but that does nothing for her on this node. And what I'm trying to do is just essentially trying to block bait, push her over to SP2, and then profit. Now, this fight, I don't try to build Namor's charges up to 20. How you do that is literally just end with a medium, and then whenever he fails to apply a bleed, he essentially gains a charge. But that's not going to matter. The goal of this fight is really just push the SP1, then I launch my SP3, which pushes her over to an SP2. And after I push her over to the SP2, I'm using a mutant power back boost just so I'm able to finish the fight rather quickly, and then that way we're able to at least win on time with our opponent, because I like to take all my fights seriously in a way to where I essentially don't lose sight of the main goal, which is not giving my opponent a chance to breathe. And I'm going to do the same thing for this fight as well. Now, I'm not using any science boost because Luke Cage doesn't really need it, because unless you're going for an SP2 rotation to enhance your ability accuracy, he hits so hard right outside the gate. And for those of you who don't know, with a tactic, Luke Cage, he gains 2k attack for every debuff on the opponent. So right now, I am rocking 5 withers. So just with the withers, outside of Luke Cage's base abilities when it comes to the exhaustions, I am gaining roughly 10k attack with just the withers. And for every extra exhaustion, that's another, like I said, 2k attack. Which is why Luke Cage is able to finish fights in sub 30, maybe if it's an ideal matchup, maybe sub 50. But all his fights are super fast. Now, with this Warlock, I've become so used to fighting Havoc with Warlock. This is pretty much a diversity placement in order to throw the planners, officers, as well as the BG off. Because when it comes to Havoc, there are no tech decay attackers, so that just causes me to just bring Warlock, but he obviously just rinses this fight. And my goal right now is to make sure that Havoc doesn't throw his SP1, and if he does, I'm at an SP2 to control the build up for Havoc's abilities. That way I can just let the power back boost do all the work. Now, I'm not sure what relic would be best when it comes to Warlock. I'm thinking about just putting on the Green Goblin relic just because of the power efficiency combined with the power back. But I think that's for another video that I'll make when it comes to the best relic for the best champs, just so I'm able to do some research beforehand. Now, this will be Black Widow on set you build up unblockable. And so you need a bleed immune for this fight, but ironically Luke Cage was made for this matchup because he's not going to gain those debuffs specifically. I do make a mistake, but that's why I have Luke Cage's indestructible essentially ability from his signature ability, and this fight is going to go rather quick. It's going to almost be like that hit that I took never happened. And I'll just do one more combo, and then Black Widow is essentially dead. Now, for the next fight after this, I'm already looking at the next one because this fight, it's just a walk in the park. It's Luke Cage versus Mangog on the old Nova 54. For those of you that don't know what that is literally just Aspect of Evolution Mangog. And Luke doesn't need a read. He doesn't need a WAGs. I'm just checking to make sure if it's a rank 1. It's gonna take 35 seconds. And it's not gonna be that difficult. Like I said, I'm just throwing on some boosts. That way I'm able to not let my let my boost or my resources go into overflow, and I'm just making sure that I'm using every opportunity to go into my fight with every advantage. But it ended up being an overboost, literally, because this person decided to place with suicides, and so this is basically just going to be a free win. The goal for this fight is to not to trigger Dex as much as possible. I triggered it there. Luckily, Mangog did not go unstoppable. And so whether this Mangog was running suicides or not, it would have been completely fine because I end up going to an SP3 regardless, and as long as I have at least 5 withers on Mangog by the time I launch my SP3, it's gonna kill. Right then, I had 9 debuffs on the opponent, so I'm close to around 18k attack, which is insane. Like I said, that's the end of my war earlier, and that's gonna be a win for us. So now we're gonna switch over to war number 3. Now war number 3, I like to use a little bit of the smaller boost, but sometimes, often, if I have a short war, I will use one of the big ones that we get from the solo objectives from Alliance War and whatnot. That way I can just boost one time through, and by the time the war is finished, I can essentially use only 3 boost and then call it a day. Let my battle group finish off the war for me. Now I'm just looking at the map just to make sure everyone's in the right place. And now I actually have a decent placement with Jabari Panther. I know, crazy. It's not going to be Mantis, which essentially poses no threat. Jabari Panther poses some threat, but her health pool is just so low, it's not gonna matter. And so, only thing I need to watch out for is her cleanse ability. I do not want her to build her charges as well. And so if you notice, I just did 2 combos, and right now she was around like 80% health, and the damage back is honestly just helping amp my damage. If someone were to place a Tuma here, and I had Namor, which I obviously will, it would essentially be a walk in the park, because all Tuma's gonna do is just ramp me up even faster and cause me to do more damage. I'm honestly thinking about taking my Namor to rank 5. Even though 7 stars are really the play right now, it's smart for my account. A rank 5 Namor would be so helpful, and I don't believe we're gonna get it on the map soon. It's really just for the fact that I have the only Namor in my battle group, and he would essentially be such a godsend here. Here, I don't know what I was thinking. I decided to rush in for no apparent reason, because apparently I don't know how long Jabari Panther's special 2 is, but we're gonna skim past that, and we're gonna go into this, again, placement of Dragon Man. It's a great placement here, but Luke Cage is even better. I was gonna say even greater, but that makes no sense. And so with Luke, literally the only strategy, just don't knock him down, and then the fight is over. Now, with Dragon Man, the only thing I like to just be careful about, what I used to do is just let him launch his SP1, and I tank the SP1, that way I'm able to essentially like get the ineptitude, but watch how much damage this does. It just seems totally unfair. And so I don't want to do that to Dragon Man, I want to give him at least a chance. And so, considering this fight, I totally did not mean to do that, but I ended up triggering too many dex buffs, and I'm just like, okay, I gotta regain control of this fight. I got so lucky there. He should have triggered the Unstoppable, but RNG was in my favor. But we take those, and as well as the Indestructible comes back in around like 25 seconds with a Sig 200 Luke Cage, so it's not gonna matter. We got off scot-free, and that's the thing that counts. Now I'm going to be heading into my last fight because I need to take a half node, because concerning the lane of path 4 for this map placement, I needed to be back up to take this section. That way one of my BG mates could finish it off in order to take boss. And with that in mind, it's more or less just working as a team in order to accomplish the goal, because I don't need to take 5, 7, 8 fights. as long as we get the win, that's all that matters to me. Now, I've never done this fight when it comes to using a like small tech boost. Next time this happens, I will not use the small tech boost because it just makes the fight more complicated as far as like Warlock versus Havoc is concerned, and I want the fight to go as quickly as possible just because I want to win on time, as well as mitigate any mistakes that I may make, or really just account for the AI's behavior in general. Now, since I took this fight already, the past war, there's not much to say about it. Since I'm using more smaller boost, I'll just have to account for the power that I'm not gaining from my specials and just intercept with my relic, which isn't too bad. Speaking of which, I'm loving this Alliance War season. The relics have been absolutely amazing. The new map, a lot of people don't enjoy, but it's so much more straightforward for me paired with the 2-day attack phase, which is absolutely amazing. And that way defense is set and I just am good to go concerning at least the planning as well as the attack phase. But I know a lot of people, they don't do 3 BG wars, and with them it's a lot more complicated, so I do realize that. Now, coming down to the end of these, the first week of war, I'm hoping to at least improve on my play when it comes to the fights that I take, and regardless of the result, how many fights that I do take on, I'm proud of this alliance, and we're excited to move forward to war number 4.